Happy Thursday, everybody. Sports guy Chris coming at you after another busy night in the world of college basketball. I've got you covered with a full bubble update after all of last night's action. So there's plenty to cover, so let's jump right into it. We start right at the top of the top 25, where number 3 Dayton was in action. They were at Rhode Island last night. And I touched on in yesterday's video the importance of that game for the Rams. Rhode Island has been stumbling as of late. They were all the way back to last four in category. For me, in my projected bracket, many had them out already or in first four out, last four in territory. Some had them a little farther back. So with only one quad one victory, the opportunity to take down Dayton, who only has 2 losses this season, on their home floor was a huge one. Unfortunately for the Rams, they struggled most of the game. They got off to a slow start, and they were down 46-30 at the half, and they were just never really able to recover. Obi Toppin and company were flying all over the court and led the Flyers to fly right past the Rams, so to speak. The final ended up being 84-57. So unfortunately for Rhode Island, they had the big opportunity last night. They really needed the victory, as I said, with only one quad one victory. But the blowout loss at home is leaving them with quite a bit to be desired yet as far as the resume goes. And at 20-9 overall, they're still solid enough to be in the mix. The net is 56, but the strength of schedule at 84. And again, with just a one quad one victory, that's going to drop Rhode Island out of the field and quite a ways back. It's kind of leaving them with quite a bit of work to do at the moment. So another win for Dayton as they continue to cruise along and are looking more and more like a 1 seed each day that goes by. For Rhode Island, they are probably out of the field for now and have left themselves with quite a bit of work to do. So moving on to another team that was in action out of the Big East, and that was Georgetown. The Hoyas, of course, have been on a little bit of a skid as of late. The metrics are still good. What they've been able to do has been pretty solid despite battling injuries all season long, especially as of late. They've had quite a few injuries to deal with, and it's really, caused some problems depth-wise for the Hoyas, and they've just run out of steam down the stretch. Not enough healthy bodies. They were at Creighton last night. A win would have kept their, bubble hopes, on life support, so to speak, but unfortunately they weren't able to get it done. Creighton won 91-76 and rolled in that one. And for Georgetown now, at just 5-12 in Big East play and 15-15 overall, despite a very solid 33 strength of schedule, it's just not going to be enough for the Hoyas. They are officially now in the bubble burst category, and when I put a team, when their bubble has officially burst, that basically means the only way I can see that team getting in from this point is if they win their conference tournament. Either they are too far back and there's too many teams between them and the projected field and not enough games left to get in. So for Georgetown, that is certainly the case, just not enough wins anymore. What Patrick Ewing and company did despite the injuries this year was impressive. You take your hat off to the Hoyas nonetheless, but at this point their bubble has burst. They really needed a win last night to stay alive. So we stay in the Big East, though, as we move on. Xavier and Providence were playing another big one where the Friars came in red hot. Providence has been one of the hottest teams in the country. They had a huge month of February, and they kept it going. The Friars were able to knock off the Musketeers, 80-74. Grinded out a big win, and for Providence now, that puts them at 18-12 overall, and a very impressive 11-6 in a tough Big East conference. Honestly, at this point, that entrenches the Friars as a number 9 seed in my projected bracket. And, at this point, if anybody really has them any lower than a 10, I don't really understand the point. They are well past that 3-game above 500 threshold, so to speak. Traditionally, for the committee as far as an at-large bid, they're well past that. The metrics like the Friars, and they're 40s for net, number 40 I believe, 30s for strength of schedule. So the numbers keep getting better, but the resume is very, very impressive. 8 quad one wins and now just a plethora of victories over teams projected to be in the tournament. So Providence, needs to be off the bubble at this point. Their resume is far more impressive than anybody else that's lingering around. They should be locked in as a 9 or 10 at the moment. For Xavier, the loss kind of bumps them back. It's a little bit of a skid as of late. They're now just 8-9 in the Big East play, 19-11 overall. The metrics are still solid for Xavier. 42 net, 32 strength of schedule should keep them, in the projected field for now. I dropped them back from last four by to last four in. They're the first team of the last four in, if you will. So still a little bit of work to do, but I believe, Xavier, still should be in as of the moment. So, but we move on now to the SEC, where Arkansas has seemingly started to come back from the dead. They had a big game and a big opportunity at home against LSU last night, and they did not shy away. They were blowing out the Tigers at one point by 20 in the second half. LSU tightened it up a little bit down the stretch, but they hung on an exceptional offensive performance for the Razorbacks in a 99-90 victory last night. That win puts them at 19-11 overall and is 7-10 in the SEC. They're still probably going to need to win their last SEC game for sure and do something in the SEC tournament, but with a 43 net and a 50 strength of schedule and the big victory last night, Arkansas has jumped their way back up into first four out territory. I have them with Purdue as the first two teams out of the projected field after last night's game. So big win for the Razorbacks. Metrics like them. They've got a pretty good resume overall. They need to win that last SEC game. I think 8-10 and 20-11 overall is going to look a lot better than 7-11 and 19-12. So that last one's going to be a big one for Arkansas, but they are very much right in the middle of the mix after last night's win. Moving on to the Big Ten, where Indiana was able to score a win last night. That keeps them in the field for now. They have actually moved up from last four in to last four bye after that win over Minnesota. Unfortunately for the Golden Gophers, they have played an extremely difficult schedule, number 4 in the country, or actually number 1 depending on your source, strength of schedule, but and now just 13-16 overall and 7-12 in the Big Ten Conference. There's just not enough victories to despite very solid metrics for the Golden Gophers, and if anybody still had them on life support after last night, they don't anymore. I officially burst their bubble as well, so it's going to take an epic run through the Big Ten tournament for the Golden Gophers to get in. That being said, they've lost a lot of close games this year. Keep an eye on them. They are a good team. They could cause a little bit of, some headaches for some teams in the Big Ten tournament. And then moving on to the last game last night that was relevant, pertinent to the bubble. Tulsa was at Temple in a game in the American Athletic, and Tulsa took care of business 61-51. While the victory won't make or break the resume, necessarily give them a big boost, it was a big victory in terms of keeping their bubble hopes alive. Tulsa right now is in the next category at the very back end of teams still clinging to life. So, but another win, and Tulsa is actually in position to get a share of the American Athletic, regular season conference title. So keep that in mind. We'll see how much that factors into the committee's decision making, but it's definitely keeping the Golden Wave alive as far as an opportunity to get an at-large bid. So a quick rundown after last night's games. The last 4 byes, I've got UCLA, Richmond, Wichita State, now Indiana. The last 4 in would be Xavier, Arizona State, Stanford, and now Texas into the projected field. The first 4 out would be Purdue, followed by Arkansas, Cincinnati, and NC State. And then the group of next teams still in the bubble conversation in order would be Rhode Island, Utah State, Mississippi State, Tennessee, Memphis, Duquesne, Furman, and Tulsa. That is how I see the bubble shaping up after an eventful Wednesday. Happy Thursday to everybody out there. We've got a ton of big games again tonight. I will be back again tomorrow with another bubble update, and I will have my full bubble recap rundown article out shortly. Happy Thursday. Enjoy the game. Sports Guy Chris. See you tomorrow.